Hello again, everyone. It's really wonderful to be with you. This is the fourth Sunday after Pentecost, and today's gospel is from the fourth chapter of Mark. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He does not know how. The earth produces of itself first the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes out with the sickle because the harvest has come." Jesus also said, "With what can we compare the kingdom of God, or what parable will we use for it? It is like a mustard seed, which when sown upon the ground is the smallest of all seeds on earth, yet when it is sown, it grows up and becomes the greatest of all shrubs, and puts forth large branches, so that the birds of the air can make nests in its shade." With such parables he spoke to them, and as they were able to hear it. He did not speak to them except in parables, but he explained everything in private with his disciples. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. When contemplating your life today, what's different compared to your life, say, a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? I'm not asking about the circumstances or events. I'm asking about you. In what way have you changed? Have your values changed, the things that guide and direct your life? Are your priorities different? Has your spirituality changed? Your concerns for the world and for others? What troubles your soul and breaks your heart these days? Are you loving in a new way? How has your self-image changed, or the way you view the world? What seeds have germinated and taken root in you? What new sprouts are coming up? Where is growth taking place, and what does it look like? More importantly, how did any of this happen? When I look back on my life, I can see qualitative changes in many areas, mostly for the better, thank God, but I can't point to anything in particular that made that happen. My life of prayer today is very different from a few years ago, but I'm not really sure when or how it changed. My passion for justice, peace, and the well-being of others has also grown, but again, I can't explain it. My guess is that each of you could say similar things about the aspects of your life. That's not to suggest that our lives have been a straight line of progression. We know better than that. That's not how growth works. But the reality, as Jesus describes it in the parable of the growing seed, is that there is an energy, an exuberance about our life, a spirit moving within us. Every one of us has been seeded, and something is growing within us. Sometimes we don't see it, believe it, or trust it, but it is there. Sometimes we wait years, hoping, looking, and wondering, and then one day we see the first green shoot rise up. Then there are other times when we wake up one day and are surprised about what has changed within us. How did that happen? When did it happen? We don't know, but Jesus says it's always been there. It's not dependent upon us, but we participate in it. The parable Jesus tells is not about gardening or farming. See, Jesus uses this imagery to talk to us about our lives. His parable is a metaphor for the way God works in our lives. It's meant to offer us hope and encouragement. Our lives are like a garden that has been planted with seeds. We know how that works. A lot is happening underground, out of sight, hidden within the soil of our lives. There's a lot of waiting. And then one day, something sprouts and begins to grow. First the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. We are always in process, living into our completion. It is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground, Jesus says. And I wonder, who are those someones in your life? Who has scattered seeds on the ground of your life? Who are the people that have loved and encouraged you, offered wisdom and guidance for your life, spoke difficult truths that changed your life? Who are the ones that gave you hope, stood by you, helped you find yourself? In what ways did they offer you a place to put down roots, find stability, and get your life in order? Who has awakened you and opened your eyes to see the world, others, and yourself differently? Who has inspired and mentored you? Who has called forth from you more than you thought you ever had? In what way did someone grow you up and call you out into your better self? There are seeds being scattered in your life by someone. Who is doing that for you today? What seeds are they scattering? And what if you and I are the seed scatterers in the lives of others? Have you ever forgiven or reconciled with someone or asked someone's forgiveness? When have you put someone else's interest ahead of your own? Who have you encouraged, loved, reached out to in compassion? When have you sat with someone in their grief and said, "I'll be here for you"? When have you spoken out at work for justice? When have you shared with someone else the seeds that are you? How are you doing that today? What barren ground is waiting to be seeded, planted with your life, gifts, passion, presence, and concerns? Maybe it's the barren ground of racism, violence, poverty. Maybe it's the barren ground across which immigrant families walk, seeking a better life. Maybe it's the barren ground of loneliness, fear, and despair. Maybe it's the barren ground of grief, pain, or heartbreak. How might you scatter seeds in those places and 1,000 other places just like them? What is sprouting and growing in your life today? What is flourishing and blossoming? Where is there new growth? What does that growth look like? Is it in your faith journey, your marriage, your family, your work? Maybe it's your concern for what is going on in the world today. Maybe there's a growing compassion for those in need. Maybe you have a new vision for who you are and how you want to live your life. Maybe it's a dream or vision for your life that is coming to fruition. Maybe your heart is softening and there's a new tenderness in your relationship. What do you wish was growing in the garden of your life? What colors and fragrances are missing? Where have weeds taken over? What needs attention? My sisters and brothers, I am well aware that I have asked more questions than I've given answers. I know that. That's because I have no answers. And Jesus offers none of us today in this parable. You see, parables don't offer answers. They just ask better questions. They give us our assignment, our work to do. They offer a different lens through which we see ourselves, others, and the world. And maybe seeing differently is the beginning of being different. What is this parable showing you about your life and the world? What do you see today? What you see here is just information. Don't turn it into judgment or conclusion. It's information for us to do something with. So what will you do with what you see? Celebrate and give thanks? Water, fertilize, prune, pull some weeds? Make some changes? Meister Eckhart, a 14th century German monk, said this about the seeds we've been talking about. The seed of God is in us. Given an intelligent and hard-working farmer, it will thrive and grow up to God, whose seed it is. And accordingly, its fruits will be God nature. Pear seeds grow into pear trees, nut seeds into nut trees, and a God seed into God. God bless you, my brothers and sisters. Have a wonderful week.